Welcome to Fair Religious Reviews. I'm your host, Anthony, and today we're going to look into a short video on the invention of religion. And then we're going to do a little breakdown with that video. So just about a 4 minutes video, but it goes through a lot of the mainstream thoughts of the beginning of religion, especially coming from a scientific point of view. Well, that's my impression, but let's go through it with no further ado, and then I'll stop where it's necessary and put my inputs. Thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe. Even before jumping in the video, please. Positivity. Let's get it.
Experience taught Stone Age people the difference between what poisoned them and what satisfied their hunger. Their minds gathered empirical realities necessary for survival. They did the best they could in drawing conclusions about the world beyond them. They assumed that they were at the center of the universe, which they saw as flat, small, and under the sky. They called themselves the people, and thought that strangers were creatures of another sort, less human than they.
And I stand corrected. The video is not 4 minutes. It's actually 2 minutes with a little bit on it. So we watched that segment, that part where they mentioned them calling themselves the people, and that they saw others, as inferior to them. We're talking about the past, but what society? Because we're making a generalization that everybody thought the same way and everybody called themselves the people. And how do we know that they call themselves the people? Or is that, modern day scientists labels and then we just work with it like we understand what was happening then?
They believed that if they ate the flesh of a strong beast, they might acquire its spirit. Or if they ate a portion of the body of a leader who had died, they might acquire his special qualities.
While not wanting to dwell too much on every little point, important to note that the primitive religions had a listing of eating their leader, to attain their power, which, raised a red flag with the whole Christianity and the communal, Lord's Supper in some churches, where they claim to eat the flesh of Jesus, even though symbolic. Why do we need even a symbol of eating flesh? And, why hasn't anybody second guessed that?
They assumed that the sun and moon they saw moving across the sky were animate beings. A face of a dead person they knew and recognized in the peculiar shapes on the face of a rock was associated with the living spirit of that person dwelling within that rock. With no defined difference between spirit and materiality, they believed that in preserving a corpse, they were also helping to preserve the spirit of one who had died. They believed that a body went limp at death because the spirit that had been within it had left it for the invisible world of the spirits. They felt no urge to meld these ideas of spirits and materiality into a consistent picture. People correctly associated their own movement with their will, and they believed that all movement was the product of will. They saw insects as moving by will. They assumed that plants grew because of a will within.
Well, this might be debatable, but I think most of the world still thinks of when you die, a spirit leaves your body. And that is why your body doesn't move anymore. I think, it could be debated, as I say, but I think most people believe that. I know most religious people believe that for sure. And I think, people on the outside, like spiritual people who are probably not religious, but, African religions or any indigenous religions to any countries, they still most time believe in spirits and believe that your spirit leave your body at death. As I say, I could be wrong, but, drop a comment in the comment section telling me what you think about that. But I honestly think that's the majority of the world. No, so what's so primitive about it then?
People correctly associated their own movement with their will, and they believed that all movement was the product of will. They saw insects as moving by will. They assumed that plants grew because of a will within. They saw the sun, moon, and stars as closer than they really were, and as moving by will. For Stone Age people, will was spirit, and they saw the world as filled with many spirits, or to use another word, gods. They saw gods within everything that moved. There was a god within the wind and another god within the rivers. A god in the ocean made the waters rush to the beach and then retreat. The sun was a god. They saw their reflection in water and believed that what they were seeing was their spirit. People attributed...
Yeah, and I think our interpretation of God is different from theirs. Like he said before, it was will or spirits or God. And I truly believe that they just mean spirits. There's a spirit in the water, there's a spirit in the fire. Not saying they're right either, but I'm saying I truly believe that's what they're alluding to. And they never thought of God the way Christians or any monotheistic religion might. Did I make that word up? I'm not sure. But yeah, any one God believer now hearing that, would be like, that's blasphemous. But most of the pagan religions still had a center God, which was still, that kind of oneness thing. It's just that they believed in different entities that might control different things. And it's not far from Christians believing in like the archangel, or any angels that, carry out tasks. It's the same thing, It's just that we might say angels while they might say gods, And just understand that it was maybe a language barrier where we might even just bring over the word gods, but they might not have had that thought. It's a language barrier and a time barrier, I think, Things have evolved in the way we think.
Much that happened to the spirits and to magic. Lightning, thunder, rain, the tides, procreation, and fire were all magic. And fire was not only a product of magic, it was a manifestation of spirit. Their view of the world came to them with invented stories. These were stories that were told and accepted without recognition of a difference between fact and fantasy.
Now, it's very interesting that they might mention the point of things might have been recognized as a fact, or they might not have differentiated between fact and fiction in that society, and alluding to the point that no, we might, be much better off. But I don't think it's any different now. Our facts are all possibly fiction. And as we progress, we keep finding out that more facts are fictions. We find out that, we thought there was X amount of planets. Now there are more planets. We thought, this was good for this, but then 10 years later we find, and that was a fact and being sold as a product approved. And then you find out that it was actually doing bad, the opposite. We'll hear that, let's for example say carrot is good for this particular whatever sickness it is. And people do it for 20 years, 30 years, a whole lifetime. And at the end of that time, you hear the next 100 years, and new research shows carrot was actually killing the people that was, using it as treatment. That's how our science is today. We hold things as true until we prove them not to be true. Which is good, at least you update and say, well, it's not true. But let's not act like we really have truth. We have what we think is truth. And, it's science, so it's, I don't believe in religion, but I don't blindly believe in science either. As I said, I'm truly agnostic, and it's crazy, Like, everybody can see how somebody else's issue might be crazy. We can see how in the past, they didn't really have much proof for their stuff. But now we're like, we believe in gravity. Where's the proof? And I understand you can say, you throw something up and it falls, but it could be something else. It could be kakaki. I just made that up. Kakaki. That's what could be putting things down. And it could be a spirit. We don't know, and we keep evolving. It could be a spirit that pushes everything on Earth down. When it goes, that's why, and you have a weaker spirit on the moon, so it doesn't push it down as hard. I'm just making up, foolishness as I go along, but it could be anything. So we putting a name to something and then saying we understand it is kind of silly too, And we'll have a lot of explanations to prove that we understand it, but those explanations only stand till a better one comes that disproves it, and that has happened over and over and over in science. But then we still keep saying, but it is the truth. I get that it might be the in the pursuit of truth. I don't deny that. But it's not always the truth if it can keep getting debunked and debunked and debunked. And new research finds this, and new research finds that. So we're not that modern as we think. The next 100 years, people be writing about us like cavemen, trust me. And gravity might have been a bad example, but a clearer example I can think about is the Big Bang. Like, how do we know about the Big Bang? Like, That's clearly guessing, just like Christians guess about the creation stories, like any other religion has their wild guess about the start of the earth.
Every society had its stories about creation, each with a different twist. Storytelling described their world in a way that they could understand. There were stories of a god having created them out of earth, and a story among others that they had been created from the bark of a tree. An occasional exception to universal order might be described as the work of a demon spirit, an evil of sorts. There were stories about evil and dread, a story with a threatening demon of some sort producing more excitement than one without danger. People believed that if the gods could perform magic, so too could they. The earliest form of religious ritual was an attempt at magic through imitation, such as painting a face on the belly of a pregnant woman in hope that the magic of the drawing would encourage birth. Hunter-gatherers were trying to get by rather than to change their world. They tended to believe the world would always be as the gods had made it. They had no sense of social progress or image of humanity's capabilities beyond their abilities. The imagination of those who had a biological potential for genius and those of normal intelligence were limited by their culture. Had it been otherwise, modern society would have appeared much sooner.
And in the end, we would see him, making mention of if these people stepped up, basically, for lack of a better word, if they stepped up their game, they would have noticed that progress could have been made so much sooner. That's basically what I'm getting from him. And I'm like, what do we call progress, though? The world is much more polluted now. If you believe in the Bible or if you believe in any religion, the world is more in sin. If you don't believe in it, like I might not believe in any, biblical, any religious texts, I can still see that the society is dropping in morality at a very swift rate. Things that was horrific in the Bible that somebody would have done. Let's say like fornication or adultery or husband. That's like seeing leaves on a tree now. Like, it's more rare to find a marriage that has never had that. Well, that's the golden calf there, in today's society. The golden calf back then, not golden, but the thing that stuck out then was the ones that cheated. No, and it's not just that, just even the music, everything, the way people talk to their kids, the way kids talk to their parents, the whole, and it's worldwide. I've lived in multiple countries, and I can tell you, and I've visited way, way more countries than I probably needed to, and I can tell you, it's everywhere. It is everywhere. You cannot avoid it. It's clear. Like anybody who can say that things aren't going down in terms of how people are. When I was growing up as a kid, I would learn to, tell kids good morning. Yeah, and say good morning to adults when, on the way to school. Or so now you're going to school and you're telling the kids good morning and they're looking at you like you're crazy. And they don't even learn that they should return it. Return the courtesy of saying good morning. It's just overall, the society to me has been, yes, going improvements in technology. And I think we're trading those things for real morals and values. So yeah, we get more technology, we get things and it looks so fancy and we have better cars and things are so advanced. But we're still the same people. Like every country hates other countries, every country thinks of their own country as superior or as more precious or more valuable than any other nation. I can't remember that word now, but nationalism, I guess, is the word that comes to mind now. People have pride in their nationalism and they're proud of the nation and their country, but, that's inherently, a biased culture. Like, why not just love people? Why are there even borders? Like, why can't I go to any country I want to go to? Anyway, I might be straying now, so... Yeah, I don't think it's a better society now. I think it's different. Things evolve and, devolve sometimes. I think we're probably in the devolving stage in terms of humanity while being in the evolving stage in technology. And, that just ring AI in my voice. The competition between us and AI. They are getting better. We're getting worse. How will we survive, when that day comes? Need to do a video on that AI thing, but when we get in more than one subscriber and get more views, we'll get into better topics. For now, thanks for watching. Please like, share, subscribe. Peace, love, positivity.